Now the rest of the story. Ben Franklin was a brilliant man. He invented the Pennsylvania fireplace, discovered polarity in electricity, invented the lightning rod, discovered the cooling effect of evaporation, charted the Gulf Stream, and he invented bifocal glasses. And he did all of that in his spare time. Ben Franklin, as I say, was a brilliant man. So why, during the American Revolution, did the American colonists reject his secret weapon? Today's historians and militarists agree that if the Continental Army had used that device, we would have beaten the British sooner and much more easily. In fact, Ben Franklin's weapon was so superior to the 18th century musket, and still is in many ways, that it has been used effectively on battlefields as recently as the Vietnam War. So why in the world did our founding fathers reject that best weapon? Why indeed? Franklin himself first proposed it to General Charles Lee, George Washington's second-in-command. In a letter to Lee, Franklin outlined the advantages of his idea. Lee in turn passed the proposal along to a committee on munitions appointed by the Continental Congress. Military strategists were consulted, and it was there that Ben's better idea died. Ben Franklin was right, you know. From the objective perspective of modern military knowledge, we see that his weapon was vastly preferable to the common badly bored musket of his era. For example, the musket was inaccurate at 100 yards. Ben's weapon was accurate up to 150 yards. And while the musket was entirely ineffective at 200 yards, Ben's weapon was deadly at the same distance. There was also the time-consuming clumsiness of loading the old muskets, tamping the powder, the wadding, and the ball, and so forth. Consequently, Ben's weapon could fire 4 times faster. Moreover, muskets and their ammunition were hard to come by, heavy, and therefore difficult to transport. Sometimes they discharged and sometimes they did not. And even when they did, you could never depend on a musket ball to take a man down. But Ben Franklin's weapon solved all of those problems at the same time. It was also more devastating psychologically to one's enemy. So why did the Continental Congress turn it down? The advice of those strategists, presumably those experts whose military wisdom was most respected, sealed its fate. They, you see, were inexplicably enamored of the old musket. They counseled against Ben Franklin's idea, even though today we realize he was right. And so, as I say, his weapon was so efficient, so streamlined, and so superior that our Vietnam warriors employed it widely and effectively. But during our Revolutionary War, there was just one group of respected combat strategists who did see the advantage of Franklin's secret weapon. They, the Native Americans, had invented it. That's right. Ben Franklin's secret weapon, the weapon that most certainly would have stopped the British in less time and with less effort, was the consistently effective, reliable, lightweight, silent, smokeless bow and arrow. And now you know the rest of the story.